and CEO of Fluence, and you're watching Fluence Unfiltered. Our next several episodes are part of a series on building for success and achieving sustainable growth. Joining me to share their insights are Rivero and Ryley Leech, cannabis solution architects for Fluence. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, David.
Almost everything that I've been taught about a cannabis grow has come from one of these two guys. They are a wealth of knowledge. Both of these guys have started, ran, and sold grows. They advise some of our biggest clients around the world. And when we look to engage with the customer and understand what they need, we send Ryley or Casey in to really talk to the customer and get a sense, not even from a lighting perspective, but what do you need? Yeah. First, start with a bit of maybe personal. So, sure. Ryley, the story that you told me and how you got into this and why is one of the most fascinating things I've ever heard. If you don't mind, a little
absolutely.
bit of explanation and
sure.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my experience getting into cannabis was I went to UNC Chapel Hill to play soccer, had some stomach ulcer issues early on in my career, freshman, sophomore year, and by the time I came around being a junior, I was struggling. I wasn't able to play. I was very unhealthy and unhappy and struggling with sleep and eating. And some of my friends who were a little more experienced with cannabis were like, look, this is something you need to get into. I think it'll help with, the things you're struggling with, the nausea, the sleep, So, it kind of, when I dove into it, cannabis, getting cannabis in North Carolina was always, you get what you get, and that's, and so there wasn't the options now with the CBD and the medicinal side and all the science that goes behind it. But after a while, after experimenting and trying, I was having some success with treating myself, and just wanted to essentially get away from what was the kind of culture around purchasing cannabis at that time. I decided to make the move to the legal side of the country. So I packed up a U-Haul, grabbed a roommate, and moved out to Colorado about as fast as we could. And then a family member reached out and had a daughter with Dravet syndrome. So early epilepsy days before kind of pre-Charlotte's Web and that kind of thing, where I had access to CBD, I had access to THCV and all these different compounds, and we started developing essentially tinctures and things for young children that didn't have access to this kind of medicine to take.
And when was this roughly?
This was in 2013, 2014.
Wow, okay.
So we started developing this. I luckily have a brother who's a neurologist, and I sent him every white paper I could find on risks and danger, because at the end of the day we were treating a young child, and I wanted to make sure that whatever we were doing was going to be safe. And it turned out to work very well, and then I kind of parlayed that into working with a lot of families in Denver doing the same thing, and that was where cannabis really took the next step for me, and seeing how not only it could affect my life, but the life of so many others who needed help. And I used that to kind of build my company and kind of start my own ventures into the cannabis business.
So literally going from figuring out that this might be something that would help you personally, to trying to help other people, to starting a business, getting into not only just your classic growing cannabis and talking about buds and output of cannabis, but how to specifically manipulate the plant to get it to give an output that helps treat certain illnesses. And that's basically where the Fluence broad spectrum came out of. 2015 2015 launched the Spider X Plus and Spider X as the first products, and started just trying to prove our way through the cannabis industry. And here we are.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.
How about you, Casey?
Cannabis start was similar. Grew up in southern Arizona, and being that close to the border, we had access to quite a bit of product. I was also into soccer and baseball at the time, and had a little sports locker in my bedroom, which I quickly converted into my grow chamber. Highly tech. Got a little fish tank light. Had no idea what I was doing. Just feeding it, watering it, measuring its growth. I didn't know male from a female plant at that point in time. I think the only resource out there was really Jorge Cervantes' Grow Bible, which you kind of got passed down from generations of growers. Similar to Ryley, started cultivating for a few patients, friends of mine that I knew, and developing some genetics there, because also at that point it was really challenging to get genetics. You know, things were coming from overseas. Some
Stopped
people
at the border constantly.
it stopped at the border constantly. Exactly. You know, and so it was pretty much whatever we could get, whatever we could breed, you know. And so a few friends of mine, some older friends of mine, were really into genetics, and they kind of helped pave the way for me with new genetics, not just the bag seeds that we were getting when we were kids, you know. And so I started cultivating for some more patients up there, and then started a business building gardens for people, you know, because I wanted people to experience the same thing that I experienced. You know, yeah, they could buy it from people, you know, luckily more safer than they used to, but also they could learn how to grow the plant themselves, you know. And so I started educating people on how to cultivate safely, quietly. And then we went full legal in Arizona, opened up a medical dispensary there. We were one of the 126, and started, you know, doing a lot more cultivation, a lot more breeding. And that's when we actually started to work with LED technology. It was in 2014. It was Fluence's, the pre-company to
BML.
Fluence. Yeah, it was called BML. And so we started to do a bunch of work with them. You know, we had green lights, red lights, purple lights. Plants were turning into tomatoes. We had no idea what we were doing, you know. And so it was kind of fun to get to see the ride, you know, of the LED technology as we're, you know, growing as an industry itself. Then I got the opportunity to move to Oregon and start a medical farm there that we grew for 276 patients, and provided all the medicine to all those patients for free, and transitioned into the recreational market that Oregon's in now. Built that company for the next 3 years, started 3 more facilities, and then sold my portion of the company to another group and took a stage left exit. And at that point in time, we were working on a few projects with Fluence, and it just made a nice, easy transition to the team.
Casey and Ryley clearly have a ton of insight when it comes to designing and building a cannabis facility. That will be next on Fluence Unfiltered. To be alerted when our next installment on building for success and achieving sustainable growth goes live, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss it. Until next time.